Right, the marketplace begins right now, falling fort for Hibakside, and this evening we talk about the business community, really, because they've come out up in arms and saying tunaumia, tafadhali tunaumia. Why are they really hurting? In the past 3 weeks, in the ongoing demonstrations, they have been the biggest casualties, really. The fact is they have been looting, destroying. And right here on set, I do have Edwin Kagwe. He's a financial analyst. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And on virtual, we do have Tony Kisaka. Good to have you, Tony.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening to you too. I'll be coming to you, gentlemen, but then for the basis of this conversation, I want us to listen in to what the president said earlier on Sunday during the joint media interview. Also listening into different Nairobi business communities, what they really had to say concerning the kind of pinch they're feeling. Then we'll get back to just analyze this and get your perspectives on that. Let's listen in first of all.
I have no blood on my hands. 19 people, to the record that I have from the security agencies, are dead. Very unfortunate. As a democracy, that should not be part of our conversation. 2.4 billion of property has been destroyed. The Office of the Chief Justice has been burnt. City Hall has been burnt.
Whereas the president said property worth 2.4 billion was looted or destroyed, we wish to correct the figure upwards to 3 billion. There are so many businesses which were affected. We have images and CCTVs of the goons who took advantage of the protest, and we are ready to share with the security agencies. We also appeal to the politicians to calm down the temperatures in the country for the sake of peace and progress.
Tunashukuru vile president alifanya kwamba ameita majenzis, ameita mavijana to discuss with them, and personally sisi kama wanabiashara tulipita a lot of losses. Personally I've lost, I can't even explain myself a lot because of the pain and the loss I've incurred from the last week protest. So personally we need government to see how they can compensate the youth and the business people who have lost a lot from the last week destruction.
Tungeomba vijana wafanye demonstration yao, waandamane vile wanataka kuandamana, lakini wasiguse biashara ya mtu. Tunajua vile wanasikia, pia sisi kama wazazi tuna feel zile shida ambazo wanapitia, kwa sababu hao ni vijana ambao wanataka sasa kujitegemea, lakini sasa inaonekana imefika mahali ni kama hakuna, wamesoma na kazi hakuna. Sasa tulikuwa tunaomba yeye President Ruto ajaribu. Hawa vijana sio maadui, ni kama watoto wake.
Wale wote wenye walipigwa huko Gikomba walikuja wakachukua building ya Sunbeam, wakalipa rent, wakachukua stalls, wakaendelea na biashara zao. Na ndio umeona mama mwenzangu hapa hata akilia. Mimi nataka kuuliza, kwani hao vijana wetu wadogo walikuwa na demonstrate kwa jengo la Sunbeam? Mbona Sunbeam imechomwa?
Sisi pia watu wa bodaboda tumedhirika, manake unakuta umetumwa parcel na mteja wako. Ukifika kwa barabara unakutana na hawa goons, wanakunyang'anya bodaboda na wanakunyang'anya mpaka parcel ya customer wako. At the same time unakuta umebeba customer yako, wanakuvamia pamoja na customer yako. Inakuwa sasa ni kama tunashirikiana na hawa goons. Kwa hivyo sisi kama CBD tunasema hakuna uporaji wa CBD.
There you have it. The president saying 2.4 billion cash shillings lost after property was either destroyed or burnt down. The Nairobi business community, the Nairobi youth business community, just clarifying that and saying over 3 billion was actually lost. That was as of Tuesday this week. And again, the Nairobi business community just giving also their point on the same. And just a reminder right now on set virtually is Tony Kisaka, and on set I do have Edwin Kagwe. I'll start with you, Edwin. Your assessment generally, hearing from all these voices from the head of state, first of all, he gave his number, but then he did go ahead to clarify, was this in a day? Was this in a specific county? Your assessment as a financial analyst, do you think these numbers, because they have been clarified even by Nairobi youth business community, saying this might really even be way beyond. So what is your assessment generally since the 3 weeks of protests began?
Yeah, I think, thank you. First of all, to come up with that number would be very hard. And because, you're looking at across the whole country. So it's, and again, you're looking at have they been reported. So it's, the number even could be slightly more. Yeah, so because you're looking at only the formal sector here. What about the informal sector? Yeah, the people who set up things, who are not, I'm looking at someone who doesn't have an office. Yeah, that person cannot be able to work. Yeah, so there's a lot of destruction. Not only property, but of the infrastructure. I think for me, I'd look at more of the infrastructure, not looking at a building.
Right.
Yeah.
Help us, the viewer watching us this evening, to understand when we say over 2 billion has been lost.
Yes.
What does a business person, for example, what do they mean? Is it, are they talking about inventory? Are they talking about, because you also mentioned infrastructure.
Yeah.
What exactly have they lost?
They have lost a lot. First there is the physical, and you can see the buildings. Then there is, if you look at our GDP in the country, it's like 60% come from the traders. Yeah, so you're looking at, there's a lot that they have lost. So you're looking at even the per day, if you look at the amount which, an estimated amount, you're talking of 3 billion. Per day has been lost in terms of trade. So there's a lot that has been lost. Yeah.
And you just picked that from my mind. Tony, last year, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance said that the private sector is losing an average of 3 billion cash shillings daily, owing to the demonstrations that were there. So let's go back in time. So last year, a time like this was during the Azimio anti-government protests as well.
I'm not sure whether you're talking to me. I'm not able to hear you really. It's I think that the sound is breaking, the audio is breaking.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, it comes and it's on and off, so it keeps breaking.
All right, we'll try to fix that as well, but then hopefully if you can hear me. All right, can you hear me right now so that I continue the question?
Yes, now I can hear you.
All right. So I'm asking, last year, at a time like now, the private sector had told us that the private sector is losing about 3 billion cash shillings daily, owing to the July 2023 demonstrations, owing to the Azimio anti-government protests. So this means that it is not a new phenomena that even the business sector is looking at right now. As a business person, should some of this, past events, what could a business person do to even prevent such? Right. Apologies for that. We'll try to get Tony back on Skype as well. But then our question of the day to you is, what measures do you think a business person should take to protect their premises during demonstrations? We've posted that question on our Facebook page. You can talk to us, a couple of comments so far, on WhatsApp number 0793-267-279. We'll definitely be glad to hear what you have to say. As a business person, what do you think a business person should take to protect their premises during demonstrations? We do have Tony back. Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry, the audio is really cracking up, but I hope I'll be able to get your question. Just I remember I got the part about what happened last year and how much they were losing per day. So what was the question? Sorry.
Right. So due to that, I'll make it brief. Last year, we had a similar event during the Azimio anti-government protests, and the KEPSA said we are losing about 3 billion daily. 3 billion daily. So this means it's not a new phenomena. What should a business person have done to even prevent such?
Okay. I've lost you again.
All right, we'll try to get Tony and just fix that audio hitch on that. But then, I mean, Edwin, you can still on the same. Yeah. Because last year, Kenya private sector lands kept said we're losing about 3 billion. So that was during the anti-government protests. That means it was not a new phenomena that we're seeing right now. These are events that we have seen previously, that really the business sector is the huge casualty. Mm-hmm. Right now, what could a business person have done to even prevent, quote unquote, quite the loss, if we can say that?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because without peace, you cannot be able to plan. And when you bring insecurity there, the only thing you can think about is having insurance. And most of the insurance companies will not even insure such cases of political unrest. So ideally, it's you're looking at someone, a business person could have maybe relocated out of the hot places like in town. But looking at the Kenyan case, it's most of the people and where the trade is, you are looking at within the towns. So relocating your operation outside town where there are hotspots, you can do that. That's one of the things. Mm-hmm. Someone can be able to do that. And then looking at it from the perspective of if I'm a business person, it's just to know when to release your goods to the market. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's another thing you can look at. Mm-hmm. But if you don't release your things in the market, then you don't sell. So it's a matter of just saying, yes, I'm just holding on, and I can be able to release these goods later on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a hard thing to plan when you have the political unrest.
So that means you do not have all your inventory at one place?
No, you don't have, because if you look at most of the businesses in Kenya, especially the traders, you have people with businesses across all major towns in the country. So if you just look at it and say, where do I open the businesses when there is a political unrest? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And briefly, we'll be listening into what Kisii traders really had to say, and these are small and medium enterprises. These are people who may not have the luxury to have their whole inventory in different kinds of places. But then, Adrian, there's something called for business person, the kind of risk appetite. There's a certain threshold that comes with risk appetite.
Yes.
For such a time, how do you balance that? As a business person, that you look at how things are, because these are business people who, even kind of communities that we've seen, they have channels, they have groups and groupings, and they're able to see, they also even able to be advised and told, today things might not really be as calm, so just stay at home. But then one may decide, no, let me just go and look for something. Let me just open. Tell us about the kind of, how do you balance the risk appetite as a business person?
Yeah, it's a tight one to do that, because I'm looking at it from, if I'm a small trader, if I deal with perishable things, if I don't open, I lose. If I open, I lose as well. Mm-hmm. So ideally, just to, you need to, you're looking at people standing on the fence and saying, can we be able to get these things, can we be able to sell our things? And if we can be able to sell our things, then it's, they look at it and say, it's better to go ahead and sell. Mm-hmm. Instead of closing and losing everything. Mm-hmm. But the risk appetite here, you're looking at when now you get now deaths coming as a result of that. So in that way, before, when it's a peaceful protest, it's an easy one to plan. But when now you get violent, what happened?
Right.
Yeah, you have to get out of, the risk appetite. There is no risk appetite because you're balancing between life and death.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's listen into what Kisii traders had, because we're just asking them, even in all this melee, this past 3 weeks, what have they been able to do? How's the situation been like for them? Let's listen in, then we'll be right back to continue this conversation.
Kwa majina mimi naitwa Jeni Kemunto. Tulipata hasara kubwa. Wamama wote, wengine wana wabwana, wanasomezea hiyo vitu yako yaharibika jana. Jana vitu yote yaharibika yetu. Laki mheshimiwa, tuone huruma. Bado ulituweka vitu yetu ilichomeka yote kabisa, tunasumbuka. Hakuna kitu tunapea watoto wanakula. Watoto walikuwa wanarudi shule. Tumeshangaa tu hapa tena tunakaa, tunashindwa pale tunaenda.
Vitu zetu ziliharibiwa, kila kitu ilichomwa, stock ingine ndio tulikuwa tumeweka, tukabaki hatuna hata shilingi. Watoto walikuwa warudi leo mashuleni, hatuna cha kuwapelekea shuleni. Wamama wengine ni wachane, wengine ni single mothers. Tunaomba serikali itusaidie, Mheshimiwa Simba, tunaomba utusaidie. Tafadhali tunakuomba, wamama tunalia. Hatuna chochote, tumeachwa vile tulivyo hivi. Hata shilingi hakuna. Hata hatuna shilingi 10 ya kununulia watoto sukuma tuende kuwapikia. Ukifika kwa nyumba watoto wanalia. Unashindwa utatoa wapi wapikie?
Na hatujaielewa ni nini ilikuwa. Hatujui ni maandamano ama ilikuwa nini. Tumeumizwa, vitu zetu zilichukuliwa, mafruits, mapambasi, nguo, wengine wakachukua, vitanda sikachomwa. Haki tunaomba Mheshimiwa, kuna siku ulitusaidia na tukashukuru. Na hata leo tunataka Mheshimiwa utusaidie. Simbarati utusaidie vile ulituonea huruma wakati mwingine ukatusaidia. Haki Mungu arati mwenyewe, Mungu utusikie na utusikie kilio chetu. Tulichomewa, tumeharibiwa, hatuna chochote. Huko ndio utegemezi wetu, huko ndio tunategemea kila kitu. Hakuna kitu tumebakia hata moja. Na sisi ni single mothers, wengine ni wachane. Hapo ndio tunategemea, wanafunzi ndio tunachukua toa pesa hapo tunapeleka shule. Sasa hivi watoto wetu wako nje, hatuna chochote. Hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Tunaomba Mheshimiwa utusaidie.
Mimi nafanya biashara na wamama hapa nje ya hospitali. Kenya kilitokea jana ndio tunashangaa ni maandamano ama ni unyanyasaji wa kibinadamu. Sababu tumeamuka leo asubuhi tumepata Kenya tunategemea kuuza, hatujapata hata moja, sio kitanda, sio mzigo. Si chochote Kenya kimebakia, kwa sababu tumeona ni kama kile Kenya tumeokota tu ni chifu. Ndio unaona vijana wenzetu wanasaidia kufagia barabara, lakini kusema kweli hakuna Kenya tumebaki nacho. Watoto wanarudi shule, watoto wanaenda shule. Hata sasa tunashangaa ni maandamano ama ni unyanyasaji wa kibinadamu. Hata wenye tulikuwa, hata ukijaribu kutazama hii ilikuwa ni maandamano. Hii ilikuwa ni uporaji wa hali ya juu. Tunaomba serikali kama kuna uwezekano wa kutusaidia itusaidie kwa sasa hivi, kwa sababu hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Asanteni.
Mimi ni mama nausia level 6 hapo street ya level 6. Mimi ninauza nguo, nauza na besheni. Nimekuja nimepata kila kitu imechomeka. Beseni zangu zimechomwa, nguo zangu zimechomwa, kitanda imechomwa, na mimi ni mama mjane. Watoto nimeweka shule. Hata saa hii nimeshindwa nitafanya aje. Sasa nimeshindwa, sina mbele wala nyuma, sijui nitafanya nini, sijui nitaanzia wapi. Juu sijabakisha hata kitu. Sasa nimeshindwa mali nitaenda, sijui nifanye nini, sijui nitafanya aje, sijui nitaanzia wapi. Serikali naomba usaidizi wenu, kama mnaweza mtusaidie.
I mean, it's definitely even painful to watch what the Kisii traders are saying. They're really lamenting, really. And we have Tony back. Tony, I don't know if you were able to listen into what the Kisii traders are talking about, but then the micro and small medium enterprises, entrepreneurs really, these are at the heart of even the Kisii town. They sell farm produce, and they were really hurt. And previously, Edward was really telling us, for a trader who sells perishable goods, they definitely have a high risk appetite. They'd really want to come the next day, despite the demonstrations, and sell. Still on the same, your analysis on this, how does a business person gauge on how a situation will look like on that day if demonstrations are called, and say, today let me sit back at home and relax?
Well, if you really look at it, what we have, especially around Kenya, is what we call the Kadogo economy, where, as you said, many of these traders, the small-scale traders, actually survive on a day-by-day. So I'm expecting to make some money today that will ensure that my family has food today, and takes care of my expenses tomorrow. And whatever I get during the day tomorrow will take care of the next day. So when we have a situation like what we're having right now, there are very many families that have got a lot of uncertainties, because when you are possibly earning maybe minimum wage, or even not maybe minimum wage, maybe even more than that, but then you cannot be sure as to whether you're going to be able to, number one, get clients on that particular day, because if you're going to put your wares out there and then you're meeting demonstrators, if it's peaceful, that's fine. In fact, peaceful demonstrations would actually create business. Why? Because if you're selling some of the things that we normally see in the streets, the demonstrators themselves are the ones who are going to buy. If it's fruits, if it's sweets, things like that. But then when you have demonstrations where you cannot know who's in the group, whether it's goons, whether it's infiltrated goons, or other elements of unwanted elements, let me put it that way, then you run a very high risk of going at a loss. Why? Because if they take anything of yours, they're not going to pay for it. If they demand for anything, if they could actually even injure you, they might even steal from you. So at that particular point, the risk is too high. And for many of the traders, when they assess this, they would rather than stay at home than go out for that particular day. And unfortunately, if they had already bought the wares for that particular day, and these are perishables, then that is going to be a major loss on their part.
Right, and still on the same, Tony, there was a hypothetical of someone who decided to go to their stalls and actually just sell, despite the demonstrations and despite whatever is going to be happening. But then, so hypothetically, and we've definitely seen this in a number of counties where stalls were actually closed, but then goons and even criminal elements decided to just break these same stalls that are actually closed. Right now, we've seen business persons have a particular layer of security for them, either CCTV footages or even private security. Will you advise them right now to look for another extra layer of even protection? Because the fact here is, on Tuesday, there was a warning and a call that there's going to be a demonstration. Tomorrow, there is going to be anti-government protests. On Sunday, we also expect the Sabasaba. So these are events that are outlined that we know. For a business person, should they now think about having an extra layer of protection?
That would be ideal if you really look at it. And in any case, even when we're saying an extra layer of protection, the question is to what extent? Because for many of this, when you talk about extra layers of protection, we talk about financing that. So that means that I'm already struggling and I have to spend. So if I have CCTV, if I have guards at that place, chances are another extra layer of protection means possibly maybe looking to see if I can be able to hire armed security to be able to ensure that my place is protected. Now, we have seen a video where someone who had a firearm tried to fend away some of the goons that were trying to attack his business, and we saw how that went. What I would suggest is the most important thing that can happen right now is for most businesses to ensure that they have insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the insurance to have the rider that it also caters for demos and stuff like this, protestations and damage through demos and stuff like that. Right. That way, they will ensure that even if they run at a loss, they are going to be compensated. Because you cannot be able to now come and say that, we are sure that, 100% we are protected. I say this because yesterday we saw people, the public, and including goons.
All right. I can pick it up from there.
Kindly, so we can do this after the short break. On that bit, because he's really touched on something that I also wanted to extrapolate on matters insurance and the kind of packages that a business person should know. Remember, question of the day to you is: what measures do you think a business person should take to protect the premises during demonstrations? Talk to us on WhatsApp 0793 267 279. We've posted the same question on our Facebook page and talk to us. Don't go too far. You're watching The Marketplace.